Thank you, Professor Quelch, for accepting our interview today. What's your outlook of Asia's economic development in the future?
I'm very optimistic about Asia because increasingly in the trajectory of economic development in the 21st century, Asia will be a key driver of the global economy. And China, obviously, as the powerhouse in Asia, is delivering 5% economic growth last year on a very large base. China remains 30% of global manufacturing output, and so represents a very important component to the health of the entire global economy.
Thank you. And I think starting from Harvard, you have been interested in China because you once be the member of Harvard China Fund. So for now, how do you see China's own economic growth potential?
I first came to China in 1981, and so I have been a witness to one of the greatest transformations in human history in terms of economic development over the last 40 years. And there's no reason not to believe that China is going to be able to continue to reinvent itself, to shift from being simply a factory to the world in terms of low-cost manufacturing to being a much more value-added economy that emphasizes innovation, research and development, and brings new expertise and products and services to the world.
Are you familiar with Guangdong as the economic province in China? Now, Chinese government are promoting new quality productive forces and high quality development. What do you think of Guangdong's high quality development?
Well, Guangdong is a very, very important, long-standing area of China that has looked out to the world and has embraced the global economy and its history. And so I'm very optimistic that Guangdong will be one of the leaders in terms of the New Quality Productive Forces initiative. Guangdong also is home to many high-quality academic institutions and quality universities with outstanding researchers are very important to the innovative capacity of the province. So good luck to everyone in Guangdong.
Okay, because this year also marks the 5th anniversary of the outline plan of the Greater Bay Area. So what do you think of the Greater Bay Area's innovation in playing a role in China's growth potential?
It's always been an area that has looked outward, and that will enable it to respond to global needs in terms of the priorities that need to be set for new product development, for new technology, for new services to be developed. And I believe that Guangdong, because of its international historic perspective, will be able to play that leadership role along with the entire area.
Because this year is the important year for US election. So I'm very curious that the impact of US election in 2024 on China-US bilateral relationship.
So I think in any bilateral relationship, there are really three key components: the political, the economic, and the cultural. And sometimes the political relationship can be a little uneasy, a little bit volatile, some bumps in the road, but then you have the stability and continuity that is generated by long-term economic dependency and interaction through trade and investment across borders between the two countries. And you also have the cultural interchange as well. That's very important to ensuring that political volatility does not upend the total relationship, but rather that political volatility is offset by economic integration and cultural understanding.
Okay, because as we know that the Kunshan University is based on the cooperation of US and China. And do you think it will become a bridge for China-US relationship?
Duke Kunshan University is a unique university in China. And Duke University is very proud to be one of the three partners, along with Wuhan University and the municipality of Kunshan, in this venture. We are delivering an very innovative curriculum, a very interdisciplinary curriculum, and a very international curriculum in the context of a student body and faculty body that is very much balanced between Chinese and international students and faculty. So it's a unique university, and that explains why our applications from Chinese candidates are up 40% this year. We have 10,000 applicants for our 500 undergraduate places for freshmen this year.
So out of curiosity, you have worked in Harvard University before, and then Miami University, and I also think London Business School. So how did you become interested in Duke Kunshan University and come to China for it?
So I was previously the dean of the China-Europe International Business School in Shanghai between 2011 and 2013. That's also a joint venture institution combining the European Foundation for Management Development in Brussels with Shanghai Jiao Tong University. So I have some experience about how to manage international joint venture institutions in China. And I think that's the main reason why I was, especially at this particular time when the educational bridge building between the two countries is so essential to global peace and prosperity. That's why I was interested in taking the job now.
Okay, thank you. And for the international trade, how do you see the rising trade barriers and the tariffs existing around the world, and how shall we avoid that in the future?
So protectionism is never a good thing, and protectionism often is a function of organizations and companies in a country being afraid of international cooperation and international competition and wanting to have their governments protect them from that competition. But this kind of protectionism that results in tariff barriers, for example, and also non-tariff barriers, which can be very important, this kind of protectionism does not serve the interests of the global consumer. The global consumer is best served when there is open market and free trade so that the best possible products can reach everybody at the lowest possible prices. That's what collectively industry and government should be aiming to do for the sake of global prosperity.
So China is further promoting the standard of opening up right now. How do you think the level of opening up of China by now?
China, pre-COVID, was in many respects opening up on a path to more and more openness. And this was, I think, very important in enabling multinational companies to feel confident about investing in China. Of course, for all countries in the world, COVID was a very big shock. And naturally, the safety of the citizenry is the key responsibility of any government, and China took its appropriate measures to ensure the health and safety of its citizens. Now that we are through the COVID period, it's totally appropriate that China should again be opening up, going out, as well as encouraging foreigners to come in. And so whether it be tourism at an individual level or foreign direct investment at an international commercial level, all of that has to and is proceeding, I think, in good measure at this point. So I'm very pleased to see China opening up again because, as we said, China is so important to the health of the global economy, and an open China is much better for the world than a closed China.
Okay, thank you. And we also want to talk about artificial intelligence. Since the beginning of 2023, ChatGPT has ignited the world's imagination and about the power of AI. So how does AI differ in scope and speed compared to the previous technologies, in your opinion?
So artificial intelligence and machine learning, all of these things are tools rather than ends in themselves. So artificial intelligence can, combined with low-cost computing power, enable us to reach decisions that are better, more informed, and do so more quickly than in the absence of AI. So my belief is that AI is an instrument that can be used for many, many positive and good forces for innovation in the world and solve many intractable problems, from individual health and medical issues, for example, in particular patients, all the way through to managing global supply chains in a more cost-effective and bulletproof fashion.
How do you see the impact of AI on rich countries and poor countries? Do you think the use of AI will form a new digital divide between these countries?
Any rapid technology innovation is always going to have a problem associated with it of, will the poorer countries be able to access the new knowledge, the new capability that innovation delivers? And we're going to see, I think, that problem in the case of AI, as we have seen it in the case of many other technologies that have preceded AI. But I think there's an understanding globally that the health of the global economy depends on ensuring that these poorer countries are enabled to access at least an element of the AI gift to the world, because otherwise, if the digital divide grows greater, then the risk of another round of anti-globalization, anti-trade, protectionist, nationalist sentiment will be further fueled. So rich countries have to share with poor countries in an efficient way, so that all boats can be lifted on the ocean, not just a few.
I like that. I like that sentence. So, since you have many teaching experience before, and how do you think the AI will be implemented in the educations? How made it maybe implement in your research area, like consumer mental health and market?
So there is always a problem, for example, in marketing, of inefficiency and waste. In other words, people spend money on marketing campaigns, but they can't really be sure whether or not they're effective. Are they reaching the right people? Are they resulting in the right behavioral change, etc.? So one of the things AI can do is to facilitate much more precise targeting of the right message to the right person at the right time to achieve the desired behavior change. So that's just one example of how AI can add efficiency and productivity in our daily lives, so that we are not subjected to advertisements, for example, that we're not interested in, because the AI will have screened out the messages that are not appropriate for us or are not likely to have any impact.
Will AI to push more advertisement, like based on our interests?
Well, all learning models, which are essentially what AI represents, learning models that pick up on what your choices are and then adjust the selections or the offers that are extended to you based on what your previous habits have indicated you like. So we know that that happens with respect to video streaming and online delivery of movies and other services already. And this is all part of a process by which the suppliers of these services can do a better job on behalf of all of us by not wasting our time watching advertisements that are not relevant.
Yeah, we can watch more personal advertisements.
Right. It's a customized approach to advertising.
Okay, so I think you are an expert in the fields, just as in the healthcare and focusing on the consumer psychology. I'm very curious that how do you connect healthcare with like consumers and the markets, and what's your inspiration between the enterprise's responsibility and consumers' mental health?
So all companies have a responsibility to ensure the health of their employees. And that's just a matter of basic self-interest. If an employee is not healthy or happy at work, they're not going to be productive, they're not going to be creative, they're actually going to be a drag on the organization. And so monitoring and being sensitive to the mental health of our employees, our fellow colleagues, especially after COVID, is really very important to any organization's productivity and success.
Okay, so and then more and more Chinese companies are now making the ESG reports, and because you are an expert in the enterprise's public services, so what do you think about the business environment of China right now?
So I think ESG is very, very helpful in terms of focusing each individual business on its responsibilities beyond just making a short-term profit, and focusing on the impact that it has on the social well-being of consumers and citizens, but also on the environment as well. Obviously, many companies leave an environmental footprint that they may not even know they're leaving. So an ESG reporting system actually motivates companies to take a close look at what they themselves are doing to the environment, good as well as bad, and to make sure that that is transparently understood to the broader public. And then thirdly, to take corrective action that will improve their performance and their ability to deliver against national goals for peak carbon emissions by 2030 and carbon neutrality by 2060, for example.
What do you think the overall attitude of the foreign investment or foreign enterprises towards Chinese market? Do they still think that Chinese market have great potential?
So China still remains responsible for 30% of global manufacturing output. It's very difficult for international companies that are sourcing from China to speedily move their sourcing to other countries. It simply is not that easy. The skilled labor, the managerial capability is simply not as good, and the supply chains are not as well developed. All of that is going to add cost compared to continuing to source from China. So I'm confident that China will be able to sustain its now 14-year leadership in terms of international manufacturing output, contributing that to the world economy and ensuring good, competitive, low-cost prices for consumers wherever they may be living.
Thank you. Thank you for accepting our interview.
Thank you.